So I want to trade this one, guys. If you want to make it, you have to put in the time. It's not. There's no free lunch here. Welcome back, guys. Ron here once again, and before we get started, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it, and give it a thumbs down if you're not. So once you watch it, just don't forget, guys, show your support for the channel. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and click the subscribe button and notification bell so you get notified every time we upload a new video. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. Sunday, December the 29th. So how do we get ready for the week? What should I do to get ready for the week? How do I know what I should be trading this week coming up? So let's go ahead and get right into that today, guys. Let's see how we get ready for the week so that you are prepared, so that you know what to expect, what to look for, which stocks to trade, and in what direction to trade them, right? So the important things to look for and how do you get started, right? So first things first, guys, you always want to start, personally, I start with the market. So I want to go over what the markets are doing, what the overall markets are looking like, and where are they likely to head next. So I start with the Dow, the E-minis, right? And I want to see what kind of patterns are setting up, what they look like on a daily chart, what they look like on a weekly chart. And you want to start kind of paying attention to everything that matters as far as the markets are concerned. So now, as far as the markets are concerned, I'm looking at, all right, well, what is the Dow doing, right? So the Dow has broken out of these levels, right? Once it broke out, it's been going higher and higher, right? Setting all new all-time highs. You know, what kind of pattern is it setting? You know, now we're getting close to the end of the year, the end of the decade. You know, what can we expect going into next week? So what are the things that you start to look for? You know, one, you start looking at things that happened last year around this time, right? So it's like, okay, well, what happened at the end of the year last year for the markets? And obviously, because it happened last year doesn't mean it's going to happen again. But it is a good point to go reference history. You know, let's go back and see what happened last year going into the last days of the year, right? So now we're on December the 29th. And this is something I covered during the webinar, our morning call the other day, where we said, hey, look, this is what happened after December the 25th. So obviously on the 26th, 27th, 28th, depending on what day the 25th fell, the next day after Christmas, let's say stock like Amazon always tend to rally, and they rally hard, right? So, well, particularly Amazon is the one I was referring to. So it's things like that that you want to pay attention to. So it's like, okay, well, what did the markets do? What did Amazon do? What did the stock you're looking to trade do on this day, the year prior, the 2 years prior? So you can kind of have a reference point and kind of say, oh, okay, I get it. I see what it likes to do. So, and again, it doesn't mean it's going to do it again, but you can reference it and say, oh, all right, that let me see why that could have happened and why it may happen again or why it may not happen again, right? So first thing I do is like, okay, let me go back and see. So now we're on the 29th. So looking at this, the 30th. So you see, obviously the 29th last year was a weekend. So you can see here, this Monday would be the equivalent of this 31st roughly, right? So it's like, okay, now we're looking at the 31st. It had a nice rally, right? So a nice push rally. Going into the first days of the year, Tuesday, Wednesday, boom, we had a nice little pullback. Okay, the patterns don't look the same, but it's like, okay, so it's, you know, and we were coming off of some very, very low. So I can see the RSI was very low. So we were coming off of that, and now we're pushing higher. Okay. So I start looking at things like that personally. I start to look at support and resistance levels, where the market is now that we're at all-time highs. Obviously, to the upside, you don't know where it's going to stop. So you kind of have to kind of see and wait for those formations to form. But to the downside, you know exactly where it could potentially stop. So it's like, okay, so you take a look at that. And again, guys, you have to look at these things so much that you get sick of it. You know, how much are you looking at these charts that you're learning them? You have to look through them as much as possible to the point where it just clicks. You just see something right away as soon as you open up a chart. You're like, oh, I like this, you know. And why do you like it? You need to understand that if you're explaining it to somebody, let's say your son, your daughter, your cousin, your brother, your mother, that you can explain it to them in a quick and simple manner, right? Simple. You just got to dumb it down. It's like, hey, this is why I like this. You know, it's bouncing off of this support area here, right? So every time it hits this area here, You can see here, boom, it bounces, boom, it bounces, boom, it bounces. And that's why I like it when I see this chart, when the right edge of the chart is over here, for example, right? So that's what you want to be able to do. If you guys remember when you were going to school and you had to prepare for a test, what did you do? You went over flashcards. So if you were going over this flashcard on options trading, how many times do you need to flip this flashcard over before you start to memorize and you say strike price, agreed upon price between buyer and seller, strike price, agreed upon price between buyer and seller, right? How many times are you going to have to flip this card before you memorize this one, before you memorize the next one, and the entire deck, right? So think about that. So how sick are you of looking at charts? And, if obviously if you enjoy trading, you're going to enjoy it to the point where it's like, you know what, that's all I want to do for now, but again, even then, I want to look at these so much that I just get it. It just clicks. And, I'm kind of sick of it. You know what I mean? Guys, if you want to make it, you have to put in the time. It's not, there's no free lunch here. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time to actually understand what's actually going on so that you can be better prepared. Again, I put out that post this week, from, and it's funny because I was watching the movie with the kids, The Incredibles, and Auntie Edna said, luck favors the prepared. And I was like, oh man, I got to put that out because it's true, guys. If you're not prepared, you're going to get slaughtered. That's plain and simple, If you're not preparing yourself, you're not looking through things, you're not setting yourself up for success, you're going to get slaughtered. And that's all it is. You know what I mean? You're not preparing because you're not putting in the time. That means you're not really dedicated. And you got to think about it. Who are you competing against? You're competing against yourself. So you have to put in the time for yourself to be prepared so that you can understand what's likely to happen. So when you're looking through these markets, you're paying attention and you're looking at things that have happened before that could potentially happen again. You want to understand the behavior. When you start looking through the stocks, especially the same stock over and over and over again, you're going to start to realize that you start to understand its behavior and how it likes to move, and then you're going to be better prepared. So once you're done reviewing the markets and you've looked over and you realize, okay, I can see there's some support and resistance here, I can see there's some support and resistance here, etc., then you start to look over your stocks, and you start to look for things that, you want to trade. Let's say you have a small stock list, and that's what I would recommend for most. It's like just stick to a few stocks, if not just one. Right now, guys, we're doing the Chop Chop Challenge. Our members are doing the Chop Chop Challenge, and LaDon is setting the record. He has so far 8 straight winning days, since he started, and he's up $13,000. So think about that. You're setting yourself up to success by only trading on one stock. So he's trading Shopify and Shopify only. And that's it. Master one stock to the point where you won't be able to fail because you understand what the stock likes to do. So when you look at Shopify, again, you come over, you start looking at the bigger picture. What is it that it likes to do on a daily time frame so that you can understand what it's likely to do throughout the week? For example, if you were on the webinar last week, you guys know we covered this PDF here. Oscar covered it. And you can obviously see how much work he put into this PDF, guys, right? So he went over a lot of reading, a lot of things, right? He went over everything that is likely to happen, right? So he went over the earnings schedule. He went over the calendar schedule, right? So the events for the week. Why? Why is he going through all of this stuff? It's like, well, because you never know what's likely to happen if you're not paying attention. So if you're not paying attention, for example, that the market is closed on December the 25th, and you wake up, you log in, it's like, oh, are we trading today? No, we're not trading today because the market is closed. So you have to know things like this. You have to pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on because you'd be surprised. So it's like, oh, okay, there's an FOMC speech this week, and you were not even aware of it, right? And then you get caught off guard when the market does the exact opposite of what you were expecting because you traded early or something like that, right? So we covered the watch list, right? We covered, for example, some of the trading ideas for the week. And one of those was Amazon, right? And when Oscar covered this, he said, hey, I'm staying away from Amazon until it breaks above 1825, right? So he said when it breaks above 1825, it can go to 1851, 1852, and beyond, as you can see here on the notes, right? So above 1825, it could go to 1851, right? And now those are the little things that we're covering, right? Because we're looking through it, we're going through our analysis throughout the week, and we're saying, hey, what is likely to happen this week? Let me prepare. Let me see where I would want to jump into this, either long or short, right? So how are you going to be able to do that if you're not paying attention to the charts? If you wake up every single morning and then you just turn on the computer and then you see what you're going to jump in at the moment, it's just not going to work for you if you're not preparing, guys. Right? So just prepare, prepare, prepare. So when looking into the week, that's what you want to do. So it's like, okay, well, let me take a look at Shopify. You know, I can see Shopify here has some resistance. Last time it hit this level here, it liked to reverse. This time, I don't know, it came close to it, reversed, came back through it, and punched through it, and now it's at itself a double top. So is this going to be a fake breakout? Or is this going to turn into support? And is it going to go beyond this? So now you're like, okay, well, let me make sure I have that drawn in. So you draw yourself a little line, right? You draw yourself a line that says, okay, well, support resistance line. That's, line 1. Then you have your new all-time high at 416.60, right? And it's like, okay, now you have 2. So it's like, okay, so now where's it want to go? Now you also understand that Shopify likes to move between $10 to $15 on a regular basis, right? So right now it's at $12.68, right? The average deviation for one day. And then for the week, you're looking at $27.90. So now you know that for the rest of the week, it's likely to move between a $30 range, between 408, right, from where it closed. You can expect it to move $30 down or $30 up, right? Or a combination of that just by moving up and down between the different days, right? So you can extend your stuff. It's like, okay, well, this thing could, if it goes straight, it can go over here. And again, Shopify could give you a one-day run of $20. So that may obviously be obliterated right there, but you have to kind of understand. So if you don't understand how a stock likes to move, you just won't be prepared for it. So, tonight we're going to cover the plan for the week again, guys, but I want you to be prepared for yourself and, what you need to do. So when you're looking at this, and again, I already have a lot of my personal support and resistance lines, right? And I know this looks like a lot. It's like, oh my God, what is all this stuff, right? Well, when you zoom in, it's not going to look like this, right? So when you go into the intraday time frame, it's not going to look like this because you're going to be a little bit more zoomed in and you're going to be able to see clearly what's actually going on. So, for example, I like to use my indicators because they already draw the lines for me, and most of my lines will line up with those anyways, but when they don't, those are the only ones I like to reference. It's like, okay, see, my all-time high obviously is going to line up with that all-time high, right? My previous all-time high lines up with my pivots, right? So, and this is what I like to reference. So it's like, okay, when I look back, I'm like, okay, well, I had a double top line here. I can see it definitely stopped at that level. That's the only place where I don't have a line that automatically got drawn for me. So that's a level that I'm definitely going to reference, for example, okay? So that's the little things like that where you guys want to start preparing yourself. And, you go through your stock list. You go through all your stocks and you start to look through, what exactly the stock you're looking to trade is likely to do. You start looking for things like, divergence. Is there any sort of divergence going on? So as you can see here, you had a high, new high on the RSI, but now you have a higher high, and now you have this divergence being formed here, right? So it's like, okay, well, the stock keeps going higher, but the RSI is making lower peaks. Okay, so that's one. So that's a support line right there, a supporting factor for a potential push lower, all right? And if it does push lower, where can it push lower to, right? So then you look for things like that on each individual stock. So again, you review the daily, the weekly, and even the monthlies, guys. Start reviewing every single line, everything possible, especially on the particular stock you're looking to trade. So just understand the stock, and you're not going to do that until you're sick of it. So again, go through that card over and over and over and over and over and over again until you're just sick of it. So again, and then if you have a list that's larger than just the one stock, what are you looking for? It's like, well, what else can I use to kind of help me pick? Because I don't have a list yet, Ron. I don't have a list. How can I start picking something that I like to trade? First, you have to understand your account size, right? So if your account is too big, not too big, it's small, you want to focus on stocks that have options that are not obviously outside of your price range. And by your price range, I mean you don't want something that you have to go far out of the money in order to be able to trade it. So you can't trade Amazon if you got to go 50 points out before you're able to buy an option on Monday, for example, right? So it's like, okay, so that's not a choice. So you have to stick with stocks like Nvidia. You know what I mean? You have to stick with stocks like let's see what else. I know Nvidia is one of my favorites for the small accounts because its options are really just not that expensive. You have to stick with stocks like Nvidia, right? You have to stick with stocks like maybe Apple, Roku. Roku is a really, really good one, and things like that. So you have to go through stocks. And why am I getting an A on this? Yeah, you have to stick with stocks, guys, that you're going to be able to afford to buy things in the money, because you can't keep going out of the money for, without having a reason. So one of the things that people fail at the most is they keep buying stuff out of the money because it's cheap. It's like, well, I can afford these. But they're not paying attention to things like volume. Like, okay, you bought these, but you're the only person buying these, right? The volume is at 10 and you bought 7 of those or 5 of those. Like, come on, you just can't do that. Second, you're buying things out of the money and it's not even likely to reach it. You're really going to start making money when your position comes in the money or stays in the money, right? And is going your way. So if you buy Nvidia only moves $5 per day. So you can't buy Nvidia at 220, 210 and expect Nvidia to make you some decent money. You'll buy 10 here and make $30. And that's if it comes a little bit your way. So, but if you buy within the strike zone, that zone where it's likely to move, then it makes a little bit more sense, guys. And obviously, you want to buy things that have options volume coming in. You don't want to just be buying things out of the money for no reason. So, you have to stick to stuff like that, right? So you have to stick to the stocks that are most likely to produce for you. And then when you make your profits, you call it a day. So now other things you can look for is things like, again, the RSI. Is the RSI high? What's a good trading idea to initialize my week, to initialize my list? How do I pick the stock that's going to be good for me just in the beginning of the week? So it's like, okay, well, one thing I like to do, go and look for stocks with high RSI. If the RSI is high or the RSI is low, and you're looking for potential reversal. So Tesla, BKNG, Anthem, Amazon, SPY, the S&P, right, SPX, all of these are over 90. So it's like, okay, is there a potential for a reversal here? So you have a black candle, black. This one, is it black? No, probably not a black candle. Closed right at it, so probably just red, right? So BKNG. This one has no reversal in sight, but the RSI is pretty high. So this is one to kind of keep an eye out. Now look at this, right? So last time it was up at these levels, it hit this Darvis top. Boom. Now what can you expect? Is it going to reverse? Well, let's see. RSI is high that time. RSI is even higher this time. So this is good because now if it breaks this level, it'll likely keep going. But when it opens, if it does not go above this level right away, then it could easily punch lower, And again, BKNG moves $27 per day on average. So you have plenty of room. Once it decides which direction it's going to go and it moves $5 to $10, you already know you still have, another $17 to go or more. So keep that in mind. So you start looking for things like that, guys. That'll help you kind of start preparing and picking the stocks that you're wanting to trade for the week. So it's like, okay, well, I like the setup on this on the daily. It's going to move around, $30 for the week. It's going to move around $100 for the week. So I want to trade this one. And because it's going to give me plenty of opportunity. I like the setup that I see. And again, whichever stocks you pick, then go through and put in the time to analyze the stock, understand its movements, go through the intraday charts as much as you can and understand how it likes to move up and down, when and where. At what time does it like to do its reversals? What was it, a week or two ago? Probably a couple weeks back, I was going over Roku, I believe, and I think I uploaded a video on Instagram or something kind of going over, hey, expect this thing to reverse at 950. Why? Because I took the time to study the stock, and it clearly showed you that every day it would rally or sell off, and then at 950 it would set its reversal every single day, right? So you pay attention to things like that. So it's like, all right, well, this thing likes to push lower. By 940, 950, you can see here, struggles, boom, reverses. All right, that's what it likes to do. Then that's what you need to understand. But you're not going to understand that if you're not paying attention, if you're not studying the stock. So you go through these. And then to get even more prepared, which we're advocating even more and more and more every single day, guys, use the tools you have available. Click the on demand button here and start practicing every single day. Start practicing. Practice, practice, practice. You're done trading for the day. You made your money. Go in and pick 3 random open days, right, that you're not even familiar with, and practice the execution. Practice your execution. And on your losing days, you're going to do even more. Do 5 opens and figure out why you're losing, right? So you're not going to get better if you're not practicing execution. I don't care what anybody says, guys. Execution is everything. If you're not master your execution, you're never going to win. Execution is king. I can tell you that tomorrow the market is going to crash. And if you mess up your execution, it doesn't matter, because you can make $100, but you could have made 100,000, right? It doesn't matter. What if your execution sucks, right? If your confidence in yourself sucks, right? So you have to master your execution so that you are ready to conquer yourself and the markets, and obviously your account. So that's pretty much it, guys, as far as getting ready for the week. If you guys have any questions, leave comments down below, and we'll try to tackle those for the weeks ahead. Again, guys, if you have not joined the play-by-play team, go ahead and click the links below. Tonight we're going to be covering our webinar. Again, the sale for the holidays is still active, so Xmas 19 is still active till Tuesday, so take advantage of that. And again, guys, if you want to just take a quick look, go ahead and sign up for the 5-day trial and take a look. Get access and see what we're all about, because 2020 is going to be an awesome year. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys on the next one.